Hey guys, welcome back to another week and another video. This week I'm playing a range of different decks. So the first game we're starting off playing Guard of War, and you'll see this game goes pretty quick here. We get a somewhat reasonable starting hand. We're not knowing what our opponent's going into. They mulligan twice and we can see the Dengo there, so we should have known what was coming. I was practicing my Gardy after playing a tournament, and as you'll see I have a couple misplays here. So starting the Mimikyu is not great going into Dengo because it's just an empty slot, and you can see that, you know, from my excitement I've got a somewhat good hand, but we bench the stadium, we attach the energy, we secret box first before attaching, getting rid of our supporters here. What we should have done is we should have got stadium, Evo Disc, Earthen Vessel, and either an Arven or Iono, and you'll see me in a second take the Iono, take the Arven, disagree with both, then take the Research, which I regret very fucking quickly. So because we can't play the stadium, we attach the Dark Energy because we don't want to get rid of it, we attach the Evo Disc because we've got free retreat, and we then sack our stadium, 2 energy, hoping to try get a Curlier. We get not a great deal, but we're able to farm out to get our Curlier. So you just see me bin energy like it's going out of fashion. Evo Disc. We would have wanted to get 2 Evo Discs off, but as you saw, we managed to get 1. It wasn't quite enough because my opponent now, if you watch on their turn, will go into triple Dengo after they play the Genesect, and then they're able to get an Arven and get counter catcher and then just take my Curlier, which at that point I had got back from playing a tournament and just lost the 3 Dengos. So my patience for Dengo was very thin, and I just scooped and I went to the next game. So we'll see this play out here where he goes, there you go, Arven, prime catcher, new Dengo, and I then watch him draw more and more cards, attach the energy, Earthen Vessel. He gets his 2 energies. I look at my discard and think, you know what, this is not today, and I scoop. So we come back to the next game. I start with an alright hand. I got my lilies this time. Got a rod. I decided not to bench the Mimikyu because we decided it's not needed, because this is going to be another sort of thing at first, but then we see the through ledgers go down and Char Cadets, so we know this is going to be that kind of game. So we're like, okay, Team Rocket to Mimikyu is actually going to be pretty solid here. As per usual, their first turn is just them binning 1,000 cards and just digging and digging and digging through their deck. But we've got a pretty solid starting hand. Sorry, I've got a terrible cold. So we dig out for our Rolts. We then get rid of a couple different things. We shouldn't have got rid of the lilies there, we should have got rid of the Iono, but we've got another lilies in deck. So we're trying to thin out, search for a bunch of different things, realise that we need to get our second route so we can set up, but we get a monkey instead, which is a misplay here. We bring back our Mimikyu, we then attach our Evo Disc, and we should have Evo'd into 2 routes, because hoping for another route was a silly mistake. But we get a somewhat decent hand. You can see me deciding what I want to bin and what I don't want to bin, which is another problem. But we managed to get the second routes, and we evoed to 2 routes here. There you go, double Curlier. This is a great starting hand, great turn. There's a couple misplays, but that's not the end of the world here, because in Suru Ledge we should, he says, should have been okay. Battle Cage, which is an absolute Norse, but as you can see we've already got the Mystery Guard in hand, so we're quite happy with that. Once again, they're going to just bin more energy and just search, 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 bin, bin, bin. This is where it gets a bit painful, because you'll see them take a knockout on the Screamtail with the Ceruledge. We don't quite have all the energy we want, So we have to kind of play a bit smart here. So we go into the Mimikyu, we bench the other Dory, we play the stadium, we attach, and we then have to sadly get rid of our boss. We're able to get rid of the Devo here, get 2 energies, which probably shouldn't have been the case, but we're able to get into our Gardevoir here. So we Gardy, we then get our energy over to our Mimikyu. The good thing about the Mimikyu is we can take a cheap, very cheap attack with it. We can start loading up the damage on the Squawk for a cheap knockout, and we use their Pokemon for our knockout. And the good thing with the attack is that we get to discard our energy. So this is where our opponent tries to skew the energy game. So because we've taken a prize, we can't quite take what we want here. So they just take a cheap knockout, which kind of ruins my entire plan shtick. So what I try to do is I try to be clever, and I set up my second Gardevoir, and then I try to Iono their hand down because they got way too many cards for my pleasure. So then what we do is we start transporting our damage across again. See, we shouldn't have evolved that second Gardevoir. We should have kept it ready for just in case we needed something else. But here we're just trying to load up damage and trying to avoid taking a direct sort of knockout on their active because we'll get no points for it, and we're just trying to load up that damage on that Squawk. So you'll see here that they're able to get their fighting energy and they're able to retreat. Annoyingly, we misplay quite badly here, so you'll watch as their turn. Clapping to myself thinking I'm going to take 4 prizes on my turn and I'm going to have a jolly old time. So we'll just sit here and wait for them to discard their energy, bring up their active, and this is where they just kind of comfortably take a boss's orders and take them my Mew, which I then have a problem because I've got lots of energy stuck and I can't quite get what I need. So we Lilies, we get an even worse hand, and we don't get anything we needed here, so we're trying to thin the deck out, trying to find out, and we still don't get what we need. So we kind of have to go for trying to load up the damage across to try take the Squawk. But we don't take the Squawk, we take the basic, so we only get 1 prize. We get the Fez, which is not what really we want either. So we just have to take 90 damage on active and take the Squawk for another 2 prizes, going down to 1. But now you'll see our opponent just comfortably just goes in. Another Soul Rock, so we weren't able to stop his draw engine. Another Through Ledge, and then Fighting Gong for that. He's just digging, trying to get as much energy out. And as you can see, I'm checking his discard, and that's where he gets the more energy. So this is where we're hoping he didn't get a boss, and you'll see top deck boss, and it just takes our Gardevoir for 310. Just absolutely killed it. So we go to the next game, and at this point I'm trying not to lose my madness. So luckily every single game we went second, which is somewhat of a incredible play. So we start our Mimikyu because we don't want to take a loss on it. So our hand's a bit dire here, but at least we can, worst case scenario, Yono to try to get something better. You'll see my opponent here is playing Abracadabra, which is just a really horrid deck. Not quite getting what we want. We go to try to play for the item lock and trying to decide what we want to do. Instead we go for the evolution. We get the Curlier, which then means that they can go for Stutch, but our Ionoed hand is so beautiful that it's not the end of the world. Only problem is, you'll see that he goes double Kadabra, Jack, and then as per every Alakazam deck, they just draw, as you'll see, and it's quite. I don't want to say it's infuriating, but it's maddening to see a deck just not be able to be stopped in any format. And once again, we're just gonna. This is where I get a little upset that I have to bin both my dark energies. So we start trying to set up a more reasonable attacker. So we're trying to get as much energy on there as possible, and we basically decide against trying to switch out. We just, because we can't get a dark energy on the field, we just go for item locking them and hoping that we can get something better in the short term. Now they are playing Alakazam, so we could expect the play to be here is that they're just going to get everything they need and then going to switch out if we can't Iono the hand down, which, as you'll see, at no point do we ever pull an Iono. So here's the boss, there's the Gardevoir, and Fonk, which was very, very annoying. Like, I actually like this deck, I just never see it in real life, which is infuriating. Well, not so much infuriating, but quite happening. Annoyingly, we misplayed there because we don't actually have the 4 energy on our Pokemon. So, and then we get both our. We shouldn't have played both then. We should have Ultra Balled, and we could have then Rare Candied into something better, like a Gardevoir. Because our opponent, once again, is just able to draw everything, anything, ever. And as per usual, you'll just see them draw 400 cards. And as you'll see on their turn, they're up to 10 cards, then Battle Cage, 180 onto us. Makes it very difficult. We're able to Night Stretch of the Gardevoir. We can then Rare Candy, which annoyingly isn't great here, because we prevent them from attaching items, but we don't prevent them from taking anything because we only take a single prizer, which is pretty rough. We get a monkey again. As we play through, you'll see that they just once again draw. And they only need to get a couple of cards in their hand, and then they can attach an energy, and they'll be taking a knockout. Which, from what I recall, they don't, and we see them lilies trying to get more cards. They get their basics out, start trying to set up their draw engines again, and they pass, so we're able to take another knockout trying to catch up to where they are, and we're able to put Pokemon back into our deck. Not being able to do a great deal here, we just have to take a basic knockout and not be able to put the damage across. Well, we're unfortunately a little stuck here without any decent draw support. Yeah, this is where the game starts turning against us very quickly, because they're able to Hilda, energy, draw, and you'll see them then sort of start prepping because they only need 8 cards for the knockout, which you see them take. We then move up the Flutter Mane. We discard 2. I'm trying to get draw here, so we go for a Fez. Put the Bravery Charm on, because we need anything, and the only thing we get is a Devo Disc, which isn't great in this scenario. So we concede, and we just go to the next game, because we've lost. So next game, we start prepping. As per usual, we always choose to go second. Your opponent goes first, unsurprisingly. Once again, we've got a pretty rough hand. It's pretty dire, but we do what we can. So we Artisan, attach, get another Pokemon, which we decide to go for a Routes. We then bin off our energy, trying to dig out our energy so we can start trying to thin the deck out a little, and we pass. Our opponent is playing Pidgey and Terrascal, Turtles, so we know they're going to be playing Zard. Well, we assume they're going to be playing Zard at this point. So they nest ball, they search out, oh, Shock Horror, it's a Charmander, so we know they're playing Zard. And at first, so they just go straight into Pidgeotto. They Artisan for something else. It's the old hoot hoot, so they can start searching out for their extra cards. And then they just go for the Duskull. So this is where it's going to get pretty bad pretty quick. So we get a basic. We know they're going to be taking a knockout on our active, and we don't want to be losing a monkey with an energy on it, so we just sack it off on the hopes that we can top deck something on our turn. Our opponent is pretty much set up at this point, so they're going to go for a second hoot hoot. They're going to search out a Noctowl. They're then going to Evo Noctowl, and they're going to get 2 items, which unsurprisingly you're going to watch them get a rare candy and a Arven. So they're just searching their deck at the moment. So there it is. I thought it was going to be an Arven, but it's not. It's the Area 0. And they get everything else, so they can go, because they're just trying to set up a bigger board state, and they're just trying to like mass everything up. So they get their Zard, 2 energy, they pass. So I'm thinking I've got another turn to survive, so I'll go for the item lock, just donk, because there's not much we can really do. So we just watch them slow evolve their entire board state up, and quick search and change things out and do a whole bunch of different things. See, this is where it gets pretty dire, when you don't get any of your like 45 draw support cards. It can be pretty bricky, apparently. So just watch them take their turn. They jet energy, which I haven't seen a Zard before, and then they take a knockout. We unknowingly know what to do. We move a Dory up, sack it off. We get our Fez, thank God. We draw. We get the stadium bounce to cut down their stadium. They get rid of the old hoot hoot. We Iono, which, to be fair, we probably should have ultra balled. Because we had candy in hand at the time, and we get rid of our Iono again, which is a really big mistake. Because at this point we go for the Evo disc, where we should have Mystery Garden then, and we double Evo, which is another really big mistake, because they've got a Zard with energy and everything active. So as you'll see on their turn, you simply Evo into a Dusk Noir, they pop our Curlier, and then they quick search for a boss, and they just hard reset our board state, which is pretty dire. There's the Dusk Noir, there's the quick search, there's the boss, there's the knockout. And they send us back to the Stone Age. So I'm trying to consider what I want to do. So trying to slow the game down, you see me mind bend. There's a couple things I could have done, but we're just trying to mind bend on that odd hope that they can try to slow things down. But once again, you'll just watch, they'll quick search, they'll get a boss. Oh no, they get Prime Catcher and they just go for game. So we concede because they've won. So it's infuriating. At this point we switch and we decide to play something different. And as you'll see, I go first. My opponent goes first, because not single once did we go first. So we got a somewhat good starting hand, because this time I'm playing Dusk Noir Zard. So we've got the Evo disc, the Buddy Poffin, and so you'll watch my opponent. They go into Soul Rock, because we're playing a Dengo. There's the Lunaton, Soul Rock, energy, draw, 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 draw. And this is where I discover it's not actually a Dengo, into Lucario, which at that point confused the life out of me, but I still go with my same game plan of Evo, get my Pidgey, get my Manda. I then decide to Arven, I get another Buddy Puffin, and I have a look at what tools I've got available. So I take the balloon because I don't fancy what's going to happen, because I know Lucario is going to do some shenanigans. So we want to try to defend up ourselves. So we're able to go Charmeleon and Pidgeotto. We take the extra health of Charmeleon because at this point it doesn't really matter. Our opponent's just going to Artisan, start setting up his second Lucario, because these things hit like a dump truck and they are terrifying. Which they hit their balloon, they get their other fighting energy, they start setting up their little fighting Pokemon on bench, which you'll watch later on. Me being an idiot doesn't realise that it gets to switch out. So they take the knockout. We move up our tiny little furry friend, Mr. Badoo. And we're trying to decide what they're doing while they're taking an age to pick up a prize card, because apparently people don't have to do that. So we move up our Pidgeotto because we've got the res. The free retreat, sorry. So we put our energy and Duskull back into the deck. We quick search. No, we Artisan, we get the Duskull back. We then quickly evolve. And we see Iono attach the Defiance Band. We're trying to decide how we want to try to do this. So we bring up their Solrock. Basically, we're just trying to slow them down while allowing us the capability of just preventing them from doing stuff. Which, you know, a quick search here, trying to decide what I want to do. And I take the second Charmeleon because I just want to evolve everything up. And I can flip the script. So we just Badoo for 20 damage, just slow them down, make it so they can't retreat, and trying to do a bunch of different stuff here. This is where I learned something new, because you'll just see them do a couple of things here. I'm just looking at my discard, trying to decide what I want to do, and my opponent's just going to Lilies. He then... Yes, that's right, Tori. Meow, indeed. He Artisans, because I should have bounced the Artisan. He gets another Lucario, and then he passes turn, so we can then just comfortably slow evolve up. We can Town Store. We decide to quick search. We get a boss up the Lucario, bangle. We bangle up our little Pidgey, Badoo. We evolve up into the Zard, and we start putting energy onto our board state. So the plan here is that we're just able to do a couple of things, but we just Badoo for 40 damage, which was a bit silly to bring up his thing, because we just realised that that gets to switch our Pokemon for free, which is an absolute nose, which I did not realise. So that was a big mistake. So I basically give him the ability of not having to switch himself. He then gets to take well, he doesn't take knockout on Zard, which you'll watch in a second was once again a mistake on my half. This is where I should have Dust Noired him, and I don't. I go for something else. No, I do go for the Dust Noir. I go for the Dust Noir play. I retreat daftly, which was a mistake, into Badoo again, because now I give him just the capability of taking a knockout and not knocking him out and not doing anything, which just costs me the game, because I should have just moved up, gone for Zard, gone for a clean knockout on him, which now you're going to see Iono, which, to be fair, doesn't really bother me because I get to search wherever I want and he's just starting to set up more energy, and he takes a knockout on our Badoo. So this is where we should have moved up the damaged Charizard, which we do. We then really stupidly get rid of a couple things, get the other Zard, bench the Manda, go into Zard. We can Infernal Rain, which we do, just to start setting up that last Manda. And we retreat into the non-damaged one. We Iono, which you're going to see is an absolute mistake. Quick search. Not really sure what we want here, because we've played everything. We just get a Pidgey for the sake of getting a Pidgey. We attack for knockout, and we take 3 prizes. And then we give our opponent game, because as you'll watch, we should have taken this Lucario out so he couldn't attack, because he just premium stretches. Goes into Lucario, Mounty Gravity, knockout there. And then he then attacks with another knockout into the active, because he gets another premium Power Pro, and we just concede because he's hitting for 330. And we go next game. So, like, there was lots of misplays there. We should have taken knockouts, we should have popped Noirs and such. But we then moved to Hydregon, because we decide we're having a great time, so we're just going to go Hydregons now. And you'll see this first 2 turns go absolutely bonkers for Hydregon EX. And then I get punished severely for being so cocky. So our opponent starts setting up their Terrascal plays and starts setting up their searches. There you go, double Manda, Terrascal. And then they pass. We're laughing because we've got everything we want in our hands. Dark Energies, Pokemon. We go for a quick double play. We go for a search. We get another Dino. And we don't want to Iono because we've already got a Dino in our hand, but as you see, we Evo and we miss the middle evolution, which absolutely kills us here and is an absolute nightmare, because as you can see, it's in our hand, so we should have Iono'd. Because when we deck checked, we didn't do it properly, so we missed the Evo. Luckily they Iono, which makes me really, really unhappy, but gives us a bunch of different things. So you can see them searching out, trying to dig out, trying to set up their Zards and their Charmeleons, which they hoot for, and they're just searching their deck here, because luckily they Iono'd, so we know they're not going to be going for Arven, but they can play Dawn next turn. So we see the Dawn play come in with the rare candy, so we do the 400 big chest move, or we go for Badoo. Because you know what? You can't rare candy if you don't have a Badoo. And we should have Ultra Balled the Steel Energy, and then we end up having to do a bunch of stuff we don't want to do. So you see us start having a really nice little time here, moving the energy across, controlling the board state. So we just Badoo, just a little cheeky dooshed. What we should have done is Ultra Ball the Mochi and energy away, but we don't, because we're feeling brave. So our opponent's now probably screaming internally because they took that rare candy and they're not able to go into that sort of Gardy Zard straight away. So they start setting up their draw support and search, and they're going to Dusclops our Badoo, because everyone knows the most cutting edge way to get rid of a Badoo is Dusclops it into the ground. So we see our little Curse Blast, ponk. We both get a prize. So had we Ultra Balled last turn, we could have Ultra Balled again this turn, and we would have been laughing all the way to the bank. Sadly, we're laughing to the ground. So luckily we pull the rare candy, so we Ultra Ball, go Hydregon, rare candy into our Hydregon EX. We then attach, we use our ability to switch. We then just fucking Obsidian Flame all his Charmeleons and Charmanders away, which is laughing, and we're thinking, yay, we're having a great time, we're kinging it. And then we watch the most despicable play in the world. So he rare candy Pidgeottos, so he's now able to quick search for anything in his deck. He starts getting everything set up, and then he goes boom, Klefki. And if you know anything about Klefki, you know I then start eating bricks, because we now could no longer hard switch, and I hadn't put a hard switch in this deck. So our opponent just starts setting up, starts switching things around. So as you'll see here, he does a couple things. He quick searches and he gets a balloon. He then attaches the balloon. Oh no, it's Jet Energy to Klefki. Klefki goes into the active and he hits me for 10. And then I'm able to do nothing. So what I should have done here is put something into my hand, but I start setting up a couple of different things. I can't even Monkey Dory the damage across because Klefki shuts it down. So we are absolutely shut out of this game and shut down. So now my opponent just gets to casually free do whatever he wants. And as you'll see, he just attaches, switches out a couple things, searches out. We see the rare candy Charizard, and because I'm down to 2 prizes, I am absolutely bricking myself because I've smashed the heck out of all his stuff. He then starts setting up his Dust Noir, which he doesn't really need, to be fair, but he's just setting it up either way. And you'll see him just once again search more, start just setting up. This is where he decides he actually has game in hand, because I was daft and put 20 damage on my Pokemon without being able to move it. So you'll see him quick search, prime catch a Briar. He then prime catches my Terrascal and his Zard into play, which he's trying to figure out how to do, because apparently people online don't know how to use an item straight away. So he prime catches, brings up the Zard. He then pops my Zard for 50, giving me a prize card, which he should have Briared first, but it just means he's attacking for 330, which takes knockout. Unfortunately, at this point, I am absolutely spooned. So I try to put a Dark Energy on. I then Arvand, get the rare candy. And then I decide, actually, I'm going to go for a Nest Ball, which I shouldn't have done, because I go for Pheasantipity and I try to top deck a rare candy, which is dumb. And then I bench a Battle Stadium, which then prevents me from doing my own abilities, which then absolutely scuppers me something fierce. And I just try to feed him a 1-prizer, and I feed him my 1-prizer with my energy on. Where, had I done it correctly, I could have been far better off. So I end up feeding him my 1-prizer with all my energy on, and I take damage to myself. And then, because he just needs to take 3 prizes, he's able to quick search. And you just see him play out his turn, where he just starts setting up more stuff on the bench for the sake of it. And then I on my previous turn, binned my Hydregon EX, which you saw, but hadn't put a rod in the deck. So I had quickly built this deck myself, thinking, oh, I don't need these items, and then had to make several changes. As you'll see here, he just takes the Hydregon. We didn't put the energy on our Pokemon last turn, which we should have done. Like, this is where I misplay, because I could have attached a dark energy to my just full of misplays. Like, I should have put an extra energy on my Pokemon. I should have then, this turn, if he hadn't bossed, just taken a control format. But, you know, here's, there's, and should have dones. Had we moved up the Monkey Dory with the energy or the other Pokemon, we could have done a whole bunch of different things. So this is where I should have crispined, put the 2 energy on my one on my active, one on my bench, to my what's it called, Pokemon, and then I could have just taken knockout on the Zard. But we go to the next game, it's fine. Like, we had game in hand and we didn't even realise. So our opponent goes first. We start setting up our board state. This is a game where it's very quick, as you'll watch. Our opponent starts Klefki. We are absolutely shut down out of the game because it shuts all our basics down. We're just trying to set up something that allows us to try to counter control, and we pass. This is where he curse blasts our Bidoof because he knows exactly what's coming. We're thinking, okay, this is going to be a good time. He healed us, and this is where he's just trying to stop me from being able to do anything. But we're able to get quite a lot off, to be fair. So we've got our Pokemon active, we've got everything set up. He prime catches because he's thinking, like, I can just slow this guy down. We then Iono. And we just start setting up a bigger board state. Our opponent starts doing a whole bunch of different things. We're not really sure what he's up to, but he's just trying to get through it. So he then goes into Bidoof, which is a very big misplay for him. And I don't really understand what the deck that he's playing is, but we then get Crispin, so we're able to get the Psychic and Fighting, and he quits. So we just go next game. Once again, like every single game, I went second. There's not a single game where we went first. Apparently, we're just super lucky. And this is where we get Absol, and this game is riddled with misplays again. Like, when I was recording these games, I was misplaying left, right, and centre, and now I look back at them. I had game in hand several times over on multiple of these games. So we carry on. We're just watching him do his thing where he's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to search out. He's playing the Toxel version of Absol where he just puts the energy on turboed via the Toxels to bench, and then he just switches out. So as you'll see, he's just search. Our turn, we're able to Arzen, Bidoof. We're trying to control the game here a little, so we're trying to just set up our energy, set up our Pokemon, and just Bidoof it out. If in doubt, Badoo it out until you get to a point where you can get a better board state. Now, the only problem is with Badoo into a dark deck, especially one that transfers energy back to you via damage, is that you're prone to getting spanked by your own things. So, as you'll watch, you see Captain Clever here thinking he's ever so smart, but doing his opponent down 20 damage at a time. But as you see, this threw me through a loop. I'm like, what the hell is a Brute Bonnet doing in here? He Ionos, we then get a whole beautiful new hand, which, if you can see by my hand, that is very nice. The only problem is he's not taking a knockout. We get Evo Disc. We then get our 2 Toxels. We bin our Evo Disc because we think we don't need it. We can play through the long game because we're just going to try to item lock and control the game state. We're going to search out stuff from our deck, which is a mistake, but we don't need to worry about it because we're just shuffling the deck and we put 20 more damage on our opponent's Absol. So we're just chipping it down, chipping it, chippity chip chip. This is where it becomes a problem because then he gets his Monkey Dory the Explorer and he just moves 30 damage over to us. Which is an absolutely infuriating card. And I don't care what anyone says, Monkey Dory has single-handedly ruined the entire fucking meta. Because if a single card has to be in every single deck because it's the best card in the game, it is stupid. But enough of my hatred for Monkey Dory. You know, I play Gardy, which is just Monkey Dory box, if you ask me. Oh look, it's a Monkey Dory, shock horror. We're trying to decide what we do, so before we bench it, we just quick search. We decide to artisan, get another monkey, which, you know, if we can stop our opponent from doing stuff, we're going to do so. But the only problem is doing what we just did there was a big mistake. Because Absol runs... it runs balloons so it can retreat, and we've just gave them store. So we take a Mochi, thinking we're going to need to do stuff here. We put 20 damage on it again. So we've basically, what we've done is just feed our opponent 2 prizes and give him the ability to retreat and negate all the damage we have done to him. So as you'll watch, he then contemplates his life choices and goes, oh yeah, no, I just town store. Balloon. And we do a super big misplay here because I don't realise what that Pokemon does, and I'm thinking, oh, I'll just read it quick, and I'm like, okay, that doesn't really matter too much. I'll just feed him something trash that he can kill. He then benches a second monkey, attaches the energy. He then Ionos, which for me is not terrible, because I know I'm going to be using Fez on my turn. So this is where it's not too shabby, because he retreats, he moves up his little poison thing, he then turbos 2 energy onto his Absol. And he pulls a weird, like, oh no, I'm failing thing, which I don't really get. I think he's just trying to trigger me more than anything else. You know, that's what we all do online. So as we'll watch, he then moves his damage across to my Pokemon. And poisons me. I then go for Ultra Ball Evo Disc. I bin the Evo Disc and a Dark Energy, which I regret later on. No, I bin the Mochi, because the Mochi is not needed now. So we get the Pokemon we want. We then attach our Dark Energy for our 4th energy. We move up via Poison. We then search out. So this is where we then go absolutely ham, because we then take 3 of his Pokemon. So we're just going to 170 the active. We're going to take both his monkeys and his active Pokemon and send him and his board state back to the Stone Age, so he can't just be like, oh, 60 damage to you, I take knockout. And that's where we start getting all our stuff to start setting up our next big swing attacker as well. So he then moves up his Troxel, so he doesn't have to lose out double attach on his Absol, and because we're poisoned, we're just up taking damage every turn. He then benches some more Pokemon. He fails to search anything with his town store. He then turbos the energy onto Absol. So we're like, as you can see my cursor moving around, I'm trying to decide what I'm going to be putting damage on my turn, what I'm going to be, and then he just concedes. So we go to the next game. So, you know, it wasn't too bad, but not great. We then choose to go second, as the Lords decide when you're playing an Evo deck you should always do. We don't get anything too overtly fancy, so it's kind of a bit annoying, and this is a horrific game, because my opponent just literally goes, oh look, I can do whatever I want because I've got a Monkey Dory with energy and you're just gonna have to suck. So like, we try doing a bunch of different things here, but we do everything wrong because apparently I just can't make the right choices. So we decided to load up the Pheasantipity, which, as you'll see through this game, was an absolute error, because my opponent Ionos me, which made me happy, because I was like, yeah, fresh hand. And then you'll see that stupid Pokemon go down, that Frostlass, which is infuriating. I then try to start setting up my my Pokemon. So, as you'll see here, I don't move the damage across. Oh no, I do move the damage across, because he's going to be an absolute pain in the neck. So we Evo, and then we've just got to hope that on our turn our opponent can't absolutely clap us. Which, there you go, there's the Frostlass, the balloon. He then searches out for another Dory, and then he lilies determinations. So now he takes our Crushing Hammer, and he deletes the energy on our Monkey Dory, which, you know, is annoying, but not the end of the world. So he then continues to search out, getting dark energy, setting up all his Dories, and thinking he's bloody clever clogs. So he's then trying to decide what he wants to move damage onto, which, if memory serves me, he just went straight for the Badoo. So then he can move up his Badoo and take a knockout with it, which prevents us from using items. So we then have to top deck a Hydregon, which we don't do. But what we can do is get the Evo disc and the search. So we get the Evo disc, we Troxel, we start trying to set up our energy state. Which you see me attach energies and then Evo into our two Pokemon. So we missed the middle Evo on the Dino, but we do get the Hydregon EX set up. My opponent's now just, I don't know what he's thinking, but he's just then going to go for a fourth Monkey Dory, attach a fourth energy. Oh no, he puts the Shaman down, which prevents me from killing his bench, which absolutely just breaks my deck. So we're trying to decide how we want to do things here, because then he just starts moving damage onto my Hydregon. Load, itchy pollen. All the damage in the world. So we start setting up our two Dories. And we just move the damage across, because the more damage we can prevent being on our board state, the better. And we just go taking a knockout, milling cards, taking a single prizer. So he then damages our entire board state again. Now I need to play very carefully here, because I need to try get that shaman gone. But he then gets a 4th dory, because why would that deck not run hundreds of dories and just be absolutely miserable? So this is where he's able to just move loads of damage across from his board state onto mine constantly. And I don't care what anyone says, this deck is just not fun in any format. And he misses his his crushing hammer, which is a saving grace here more than anything else. But as you'll see, as this game just drags on with him just moving damage across, me then trying to ping it back and milling cards and trying to do the same thing over and over. But luckily now I can play items. So shamans only have 80 health, and if memory serves me correctly, he was able to move all the damage from his entire board state over to mine, which meant I wasn't able to take the shaman. Shaman. But he does just give me the shaman, to be fair. And as you'll see, I'm just trying to put as much damage from my side onto his active Pokemon, and then I earn everything away, because I don't want him having so many cards, and I don't want to have loads of stuff in my hand either. And this is where I discover that my second Hydregon's prized, so we just try to mill cards out from him. And I don't realise it, but my opponent actually is a 4D chess player, because that wasn't the only the Devo disc in his deck, as you'll see. So once again, I'm finally thinking I might get a mass just board wipe here, but I didn't realise it. He does that to me instead. So you'll see him move all his damage over to my side again, because nothing says fun like 4 Dories moving 100 damage every turn, and then upticking 100 damage every turn. So unless you can get 3 Dories down doing the same thing, you cannot counter it. So he takes a knockout, going down the prize, which sadly is, I think, exactly what he needed. And as you see, like, these people take 20-minute turns, which is infuriating. So he then goes for a Devo disc, and then he's able to Devo and absolutely brick me. Because, like I said earlier on, I hadn't put the stretchers and such into the deck, so I didn't have the raw mechanisms to get everything back. So we had 1 Dark Energy and a Crystal in deck, which is pretty rough. And then we just pass turn. So then he just loads up loads of damage on our board state again. He just starts setting everything up. We need to dig out that one energy, which I don't think we can do, and we concede because it's just a slow play death game. So we go to our next game. This one is once again very quick. We just brick hand, we changed crystal to prime catcher, and we added a couple other items to the deck for draw support and assistance. So as you see here, we start Badu, our opponent starts Shaman, and I just absolutely lose my cool because he Shaman's energies double Cyndaquil, and I can't win this matchup in any format. So you'll see me just waiting patiently as he just takes 12 days of a turn. Just digging. Turn, we then Troxel, Nest Ball, Dino, bench, Itchy Pollen. Which is a pretty quick turn, but he's just getting Cyndaquil, energy attach, search for the other Ethans. He then searches for Ethans, and then surprise here, researches. Fresh hand, a whole bunch of everything else. He's then able to start setting up his search, looking for new things. He sets up his last one, he retreats, brings up a Cyndaquil, not Typhlosion, is Equivlava. We're in a pretty bad state here. The only thing we can do is just try to stall it out. So we bring up the Shaman, we go again, we try to start setting up, and we just do them. Just the only thing we can do. Like, we are in a bad board state, in a bad place, and they are winning very quickly. So the Ethans for the energy, and the Quinn Lava side Typhlosion. It's the third Evo, isn't it? So they go Typhlosion, and then we watch them attach their energy. They do search, digging away. They then set up their Vicinity. They switch out into the Typhlosion. They don't even put up the Typhlosion. They just put up the basic one with the energy, and they just take 100 damage. At this point, we are so far behind. It's just infuriating. That we just scoop because we've got nothing. We're not going to do anything. So we go next game. Sorry, my nose is killing me. We choose to go second again, and this time we've gone. Yeah, we're still trying to get this to work. We made a couple more changes again. We're happy-ish with our starting hand. It's not terrible. It's not great, but you know, it's a mirror match by the looks of it. Well, that's what I think at first, and then I remember that no one else is running what I'm running, because no one else is an idiot. So we start trying to set up all our fun things. We get the Devo disc. We get another one, because we just want to try one Dino, one Troxel, but we go for both the Dinos, because we've got Troxel in hand. And then we Evo, which then passes to our opponent. So let's see what they do. They Lilies, fresh hand, which I'm pretty sure they start setting up their board state to try get ready for what we're going to do. And then we realise they're playing Sharkpedo or whatever anyone wants to call it these days. I'm not a big fan of the deck, but it is what it is. So we get to a point where we're not really sure what we want to do. So we're going to just attach a dark energy there. We're going to pull up our little Sharky boy. We're going to move the damage over to their fish, which is completely the wrong thing to do, because it then powers it up for them, and then we try to search out for 2 Pokemon, which I'll tell you now was a mistake. Because the minute you search something out and put it in your hand, what is your opponent going to do, boys and girls? They're going to play a very famous card called I and Oh No. So they go into their shock, they attach their mochi, and then they, send us back to the Stone Age. We think, okay, we can possibly still recover. Let's see what happens. And then they bench the Shaman, which... No, like 3 weeks ago, no one was playing Shaman. Now everyone's playing it. So they put double energy on Sharpedo. They then move up to the active because they only need to attack us with their basic attack to get all the energy in the world. And they're able to move the damage across to us. Subjugating chains, move up theirs. Oh. And now we have to try find a way of doing 330 damage, which isn't really going to happen. So we try to go Badoo to control the game state, which I shouldn't have done. So I start trying to set up my Hydregon more. I then Badoo for 20, and I should have Monkey Doried the damage across, but it doesn't really matter here because he's got a monkey with 30 with an energy, so he can just move 30 back to my board state. Because I'm an absolute toolbox, so as you'll watch, he then moves the damage across onto my board state, which takes out my Badoo. Which, as we'll see now, 30 damage across. Badoo. I then move up the Troxel, thinking, and then he just bosses. And he bosses me, sending me back to the Stone Age again, to which, at this point, I had lost several games and had thought, you know what, bollocks to this, I'm going to do something else. So, we go to the next game. We flip the heads, we go second, because I only played Stage 2 decks, apparently. We both mulliganed. I then mulliganed again because apparently I can't get a basic Pokemon. I get a single basic, but I do have the Arven, so we can go for the Evo play. It's a Charcadeck deck, I think. Okay, we might be able to do something here. So we see what happens. They're able to Carmine, a brilliant first turn, and energy. I then go Evo Disc, Buddy Poffin, because it's the safest bet here. So I take a Troxel and the little fella. I should have then played the Nest Ball. Should have Nest Balled and got a second one. But guess what? He didn't, because he's in the season of being dumb. So he goes to Roulette and he goes Research. He starts setting up more Charcadecks, and then you're going to see one of my favourite cards. Because he's just thinning is winning, smashed. So we get double Nest Ball, so we go Subjugating Chains, and then we just notice that we don't have Fez. So we then end up in a really horrid place. So we then have to retreat. Well, we use its ability first, then we retreat. And then we just start trying to figure out the hell we're going to do, because we're now fucked. And as you'll watch very quickly, he then just goes through ledge, boss's orders, and we concede, because there's nothing we can do here. He's just absolutely going to dominate the game from this point onwards. But the game says, no, you don't want to concede, so we keep trying, and we pollen again, and we watch what our opponent does, to which they're just going to boss again, and then we do concede because we really do go back to Stone Age. So new game, we then once again go second, stage 2 decks. The law is you go second. So our opponent mulligans. I don't even look at their hand properly because I'm so infuriated from just the back-to-back absolute donkey-ness that we've received. So I'm thinking, oh, a Jellicent, great. So, and then I see the cross will go down, and I think, great. What's better than not being able to do anything? Not being able to do anything against a wall deck. But we do get the town store, and we get the energy. So we're able to town store, Evo disc, energy, and then you see my Iono, which absolutely kills me. You take the second Troxel, so we've only got one Dino in the entire deck. And then the game won't let me select the Dino to do the ability. So we don't get the Evo on the Dino because the game says no. No matter what we try to do to select the card, the game won't select it. So you see me getting really frustrated with the game and like everything else in between. And I'm just trying to figure out what the best game plan in here is. And as you'll watch by my opponent, they're just going to go Oceanic Gloom. So Oceanic Gloom for 20, and they just spoon me into the thing. So we town store for an Evo disc again. We then attach the Evo disc, and we try to do this thing again, but this time we put 20 damage onto our little fella. We don't even move the damage from our board state. This time it lets us select and lets us Evo. Right, last turn I should have moved that damage from my active to his bench, but we didn't. It's not the end of the world though. Because then he Ionos me. So the one card we needed, we got rid of. So turns out we had all energy in on the board. So we're just trying to set up our energy on our little basic attacker so we can take a knockout. So we're kind of dead in the water here. And this becomes a really slow, drawn out, painful death. So as you can see, our opponent's just slow attaching, Hilda in, trying to look for the Evo, because nothing says funds Crussels like a Jellicent EX. So they're just trying to set up all their like attackers and their basics and everything else. We then get the energy, we town store. We then decide to retreat. We move the energy across because it's not quite enough, and we know that the Crispin's not going to do anything, so we're just trying to set things up. And he goes into another Crossel and he gets the energy, which is just an absolute fucking nose here. But luckily we've got all our fun things, and once again we're just getting all the energy out of the deck, which is just kind of killing us. So because we know we're going to get knockout on their active, we're just going to pin all the energy from our active, well, all the damage off our active onto their one on the bench, so if they move it up, we can take a knockout on it, and we get a single prize, which is just not what we want still. So, Jellicent being super funsies is an absolute nose, and because we've got all our energy on our active, we are in a bad situation. And they battle cage, which makes me laugh more than anything else. So we move up our Badoo, get another Badoo, we just start damaging, we crisp in to get the last energy out of the deck, because there's nothing we can do. And we just battle cage the energy away, so it just disappears, and we just Badoo! Because we want to try either get one of our search cards, or we want to try get some energy that isn't the energy that's in our hand. You see our opponent get his 4th energy, so he can hit for 160, and this is where I start getting very troubled. So we move up our Toxel, we just get more energy, because apparently the only thing we can pull in this deck is energy. So we just Itchy Pollen again, hoping that he does not have Boss, and that we can get something else, which you'll see, Boss, and then I concede. Because that's enough of it. And that's for today's video. Thank you. Goodbye. And if you like and subscribe, you know, we guys appreciate it. Cheers, guys.